Hello, and welcome to this week's WVD Community podcast. And this week we have with us Stefan Digamonze, Patrick Cola, and our special guest, Dean Cefola. Guys, how are you all?
Hey, Neil. I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Hi.
All good, thank you.
Yeah, all good as well. Perfect.
Okay, so Dean, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in the IT industry for 21, 22 years. Started out as just a help desk person and worked my way up to eventually doing client management and then into the server world, got into the data center space, virtualization, system center. And that's when I came into Microsoft and joined it originally as a system center guy. And from there, it all kind of went very well until this thing called Azure happened. And I knew that the cloud would be pretty awesome and knew I wanted to be in it. So I switched roles inside Microsoft, which was a big challenge, and learned Azure, which was Azure Classic. And it was all PowerShell based. So I was mostly comfortable with all the management. And then this other shift happened into Azure ARM. And I was totally lost. I didn't know, like they changed around how a lot of things worked, and I didn't understand the API side of things, and then also the JSON templates and all of that. I had no idea what JSON even was. I thought maybe it's like a language like PowerShell. I had no idea. And so I had to learn all of that, which was a very long and tough process because, of course, it was all still very new. There was no real training classes yet, no books or resources. So it all just took a lot of drive in and get it done and learn it, which then led to probably 6 months or so of a really hard ramp up period. And then I felt comfortable and now I could like actually get back to work. Now that all then leads into how I didn't want that experience to be something that somebody else would really have to go through. So I started working with people one-on-one and trying to help people to learn more about Azure and make the shift like I did. And eventually I got to probably, I think it was about 20 people or so who I was working with. And I started having the same conversations over and over. You know, basics of virtual networking is the same all the time. And after a while, I thought this is a really inefficient use of my time. Why don't I just record this and then let them watch it, and then we can talk about it and answer questions and go through and help them build it. And that's kind of how the Azure Academy got started. And I needed somewhere to put the videos, so I created a YouTube channel and put it up there so I could send the videos to anybody. And then within my job, within Microsoft, I would then use those videos as references for customers. You want to learn something new about Azure policy? Well, go watch my video. You want to learn WVD, go watch my video. And that way I was able to accelerate more of what I could do inside Microsoft with my customers. So I would get more and more customers that I'd be able to take on because half of them were watching videos and I'm working with the other half. So that made me also very productive. And then it just kind of mushroomed from there. So I haven't really done any kind of like active marketing per se for Azure Academy. It just kind of has grown organically. And it's almost, let's see, what is it now? 2.5 years that I've had the channel up, and I just passed 25,000 subscribers and 1.1 million views, which was all very cool. I never thought that would happen, but here we are now.
25,000 subscribers, guys.
Wow.
Wow.
That's pretty good going, Dean. Good job, mate.
Cool.
Thank
So,
you.
Dean, at this moment, you're working as a Azure Fast Track engineer at Microsoft.
Yeah.
And well, I'm not sure. So, can you tell us something about how your work week looks like?
Sure.
What do you do as a Fast Track engineer?
Yeah, so in Fast Track, within Microsoft, we're part of the Azure Customer Experience Group, which is inside of Azure Engineering. So we're in basically the same organization as the product groups. So we work very closely with all of the product teams across Azure so that we are like, I guess you could say, the customer-facing side of the product team, although, of course, the product team works with customers directly as well. And so we would go and engage with customers, help them to build a solution, and then take their feedback to the product team and help to improve the solution. So that's kind of where we sit in the organization. So I do spend probably about 40% of my time actually working with customers directly and helping them to do anything from Azure governance, identity, networking, WVD, of course, and then take their feedback on is something as small as I don't like where this button is positioned in the portal, to I need this new feature because I have a problem that I need to solve, and then go back to the PG and work with them to understand that from the customer and also help to build some of that. For example, recently we had the addition of WVD, the custom, sorry, not custom anymore, the built-in RBAC roles. I originally wrote the document that is what became the RBAC roles and wrote the roles and submitted that to the product group as this is a gap in the product that I see that we should fill. Here I've done the work, you approve it, tweak it, and then if you like it, publish it, which they eventually did. So that's kind of what we do.
So you're not just helping customers with the Azure platform, but also getting the feedback from that customers to the product team and making like the Azure platform a better.
Yep.
Cool. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun role.
And for how long are you doing this right now?
Oh, wow.
So did you start at Microsoft or for how long are you working for Microsoft?
So I've been here going on almost 7 years.
Yep.
Let's see, I started off in Microsoft Consulting as a System Center consultant, and then eventually did Azure Consulting, and then went from there to work in Fast Track. So that's probably about maybe 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, maybe. It's been a while. You know, these are kind of like dog years in Fast Track. So, you know, every month is like, you know, half a decade. So.
Interesting. Cool.
Perfect. Dean, when we focus a little bit more on the Azure Academy now, we can see that besides of all the Azure topics you're posting, WVD became an essential part of your Azure Academy. Why are you so passionate about WVD? Can you tell our listeners a little bit more why that's such a focus on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, Patrick. So I guess it kind of goes back to my roots in System Center and the client space. I've always liked the client device side. I even still love building computers and doing all of that work of OS imaging and deployment. And in one of the first big projects that I was in as a Azure consultant, one of the things that I had to help a customer do was something that we called the Hybrid Cloud Foundation, which is basically like Azure 101. And part of that, the customer wanted to implement everything that we had talked about through code, which is where my skills with JSON started to come into use. So one of the things that I wrote was a bunch of ARM templates to automate implementing the Hybrid Cloud Foundation. Part of that was your basic hub and spoke networks, identity, and then I needed a way to get into the environment. And way back then, the only way to do that was build yourself a little RDS farm. And so I had all that scripted out, and then that challenges that I would run into with how to set that up or how to scale it then led me to work with Christian Montoya, who was on the WVD team way back when. And that then opened the door for me to get a peek into RDMI, which was the precursor to WVD, and actually did some scripting for that. And then, of course, that whole thing got shelved and eventually became Windows Virtual Desktop. And so I had known that product team for quite a while. And when this came up and the way that it was positioned compared to how RDS was or RDMI was, I just had an instinct that this was going to be really big. And I wanted to get in on it as fast as possible. So I started taking some time with Christian and some other folks on the product team to really start to learn it, which then, since I had the Azure Academy and it was all public, I was able to create videos for it. And so on my channel, there's actually a playlist for WVD Classic, if anybody's still using that. And then there's now a playlist for WVD ARM. And I think I've got about 35 videos in that playlist, all different aspects of deploying WVD or securing it, or a lot of stuff. And then that, of course, leads to one of the new passion projects of WVD that I'm working on, which is the AZ-140 study guide to help everyone with the certification test. So I've got 9 videos that are currently public. I've got 10 and 11 ready to publish, and working on 12, which is going to be the implementation. So, and the way that I've broken that down is in the skill sheet, we have all the different major bullets of planning your infrastructure, building your infrastructure, planning for security, user access, monitoring. And so I wanted the approach to make it as modular as possible. So almost every bullet point that's in there has a video is my plan. Of course, some of them have a lot of overlap. And so I think the one on session host, for example, covers 4 bullet points, because you can't talk about session host without talking about the image, without talking about deployment. And so it all fits together as one topic. But so that's the general idea. And then I'm also working on something that I can't talk too much about yet, but as kind of supplemental study material that I'll be including in the video links once that's ready to publish. And hopefully we can get all of this done as fast as possible. It probably won't make it all public by the time March 29th comes around and the test is available, but I'm pushing for it, so we'll see.
So do you do all this in your spare time, Dean, or is that included in your work day?
Yeah, no, this is all my spare time effort. So
wow, that's awesome effort, because it must take a hell of a lot of commitment.
Yeah, it does. The workflow for an Azure Academy video, like everything else, it evolves over time. So when I would first make, some of my early videos, it was just turn on my screen capture and just talking to the microphone. There was not much in the way of editing. And of course, it's evolved a lot more. Now I appear on camera, so I've got all
those fancy things flying around.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought it would be like really cool, because if you had like a whiteboard, you'd draw stuff on the board, and I'm terrible with drawing. And then I figure that while I'm drawing on the board, I'm not talking to the audience. So that's like lost time. But if I have all of the official, icons flying around the screen, then what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm talking about. And then it's just, and as cool as that is, that takes a lot of time, because it's almost like making 3 videos in one now. So I have to record me, and then I have to record the Azure portal, and then I have to do all the animation stuff of the things flying around and doing all that. So to make an average video now is probably about anywhere from an hour to 2 in planning the script and knowing what I'm going to talk about, and then doing the recording of me talking about it, and then recording the Azure portal about what I'm talking about, and then taking all the icons and doing all the animations. So all in all, that's probably 6 hours or so for a 15-20 minute video.
For a 20-minute video. Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So I always would say that I have one of the great privileges of doing what I love as a job. And it's actually worse than that, because my job is also my hobby. So it's like every day is fun day. So it's great. So I have a real problem with work-life balance. So
there is no work-life balance at all.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's work, life is work, but it's also life. So I don't know.
Yeah, so do your Academy videos, I take it they kind of go along with whatever you're working on at that time, right? Or is it whatever you just feel like? How do you, because at the moment, obviously you've been very, very WVD focused.
Yeah.
Will it stay that way, or do you generally move on to other?
No, the purpose behind the Azure Academy All Up is to ultimately be able to cover everything in Azure, which is of course a monumental undertaking. So, I've had some videos where I've brought in people as like guest presenters, because it's just not something I'm as familiar with. Like I did a video on a new service in containers with Phil Gibson, who is now part of the containers product team. I had another fellow from my team, Jack Stromberg, who is a networking genius, come in and do a video on Traffic Manager for me. You know, if I can bring in someone else and help them to become known to the community and all of that, that's great. It helps them, and it also helps me, because there's, you know, one less video that I have to make about something that people are interested in. So all, you know, collaborations like that are always cool. But the general focus is to have anything that someone wants to learn about Azure, I want them to ultimately find it on the Azure Academy. And for right now, because of how soon the AZ-140 is coming out, there's a single focus on WVD. But once that's all done, then I'll be looking into a bunch of other videos again. Like I've got a list of, I think, 17 videos that I'm in the process of making. But in general, if something is a new feature, that kind of stops everything, and I want to highlight that new feature because I know people are going to be interested in it. You know, it's one of the funny things about YouTube as a platform. You know, you sort of have to do things that people want to see so that they want to find you right now. Because if you don't do it, somebody else will. And then when you put it out later, people won't watch it. Yep. So that drives a lot of the behavior too. Sorry,
Dean, I misheard you. I thought you say you're working on 17 videos. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got 17 videos in my pipeline right now that are not WVD. Okay. So it's just things that I'm either researching, or I've created like half of the video, or the video is shot but it's not edited, you know. So a lot of projects going on.
I'm going to miss you WVD videos.
Well, I still don't understand where you get all the time from. So you got a 40-hour work week and
yeah, well, it's, you know, I mean, it's Microsoft hours too, so it's more like, you know, 50+ hour work weeks. And then I think my secret is I sleep like 4 hours a day, so that helps.
That explains it.
So that hammer in the background, is that what your wife comes and wakes you up with in the morning when you've fell asleep doing your videos?
You know, if I get out of line, she breaks out Mjolnir and lets me have it. So
perfect. Yeah, Dean, we can, what we saw during the past months, that you are not only active on YouTube doing your Azure Academy, we can also see that you're organizing the Microsoft Meets community event together with Christian. Yeah. And the 4th edition is about to happen in April, if I'm not wrong. Can you tell us a bit more about this one?
Yeah, so this is the 4th edition of the Microsoft Meets community event. It's a kind of an outreach from the Microsoft WVD folks into the broader community, and to bring in people from the community to present and show all the latest cool stuff that people are working on. And this particular one, I'm going to be doing the keynote with Christian, and it'll be in the desktops in the cloud format, which is our other YouTube channel podcast, kind of like this one. And then I'll be doing a separate session where I'm going to do a masterclass on Azure Image Builder. So there's a lot of new support for that in WVD, and hopefully that'll be generally available soon.
Perfect. Sounds great. We all had the pleasure to be part of the Microsoft Meets community event as well. It's really a cool format that you've created here, and really it helps the community. We saw on the responses how people react or how many registrations you are able to get, and that's really awesome. And yeah, we had the WVD Tech Fest just 2 weeks ago. You were part of that as well, kicking off the main stage together with Christian. That was a real success as well. And yeah, we were really happy to have you as well.
Yeah, it was great to do it. So thanks for the invite, and hopefully we can get into the next one too.
Oh, for sure. It's already planned for the 18th of November. So, but more information on that also a bit later.
So, Dean, we just touched a little bit on desktops in the cloud. We know you are doing that together with Christian Brinkhoff. Can you tell us something more? How did that one get started?
Sure. So Christian and I originally met in person at the last Ignite that was in Florida. I happened to be over at the Microsoft Mechanics stage, and he showed up there, and we recognized each other from having talked online and talked through seeing work in the community. And I've been following his blog for quite a long time as well. So then when we met, we hit it off, and then he had known about my Azure Academy, which was pretty cool. And he said, would you ever be open to doing a podcast series and bringing people from the product team on and bring people from the community on? That sounds great. Let's do that. And then we eventually, worked on the format and all of that. And the opening intro that we have, the animation intro, I made that. That took a lot of work, but I'm quite proud of that intro. And eventually we started off with Canva Bratt, who is of course now the head of WVD, which was a cool first guest to have. And it's kind of gone from there. And I think we just passed 2,000 subscribers over there, if I remember correctly. So that was pretty cool.
Cool.
So obviously you worked very closely with customers. You work very closely with the product group. What do you see the future as Windows Virtual Desktop is? How do you see it evolving over the next sort of 12 months? What's in the pipeline? What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to be careful in what I share, but one of the struggles for any kind of product that's not completely unique in the market, and of course WVD is the latest in a long line of VDI tools like Citrix and VMware, to name a couple. The danger is that people want feature parity. And so you as the product team may think, well, I just need to make it look exactly like Citrix. That's not always a great strategy. You want to meet the requirements that people have, but you don't want to just make another Citrix, because you want your product to be unique and have its own benefits. So that's always an interesting struggle. But there are some new features that are going to be coming out in WVD, things that are being worked on to improve the manageability of the service, and the how we handle like images in the service, things like Image Builder coming into the picture now, and integrating that more tightly into WVD, I think would be very cool. One of the other things, of course, that some other people are doing, like Nerdio has a real nice solution on how they handle system updates and pushing out new versions of the image. I would like to see something like that happen in the product. Don't know if that will, but also there's other ways to scale the solution too. Things like scale sets would be an interesting concept that I know that they're exploring. I don't know where that's going to go, but as a service, once you have the VDI platform out there, now how can we evolve it further? Well, of course, integrating it with solutions like an MDM solution is one way, but taking it and making it more of a kind of a platform solution or a managed offering solution is probably the next logical place. I don't know that's on anybody's radar, but for me, I would think that how much bigger can you go? I mean, we're already over, what is it now, 150,000 simultaneous connections every second. So it's already huge. So how much more up can you go? I mean, you can improve the individual components of the service, add new features, and then scale it bigger somehow. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm looking for what that next thing is. And but for me, in my general position within Azure, I'm more of what you would generally call a generalist. I do a lot of everything. And so WVD is just the thing that I focus primarily on now. But if there was some other new thing that came up in, I don't know, Kubernetes, where that became something huge, then I'd probably shift focus to that. So yeah, I'm just looking for the thing that has the widest impact for the most people.
Which probably leads us on to our next question quite nicely. So we've heard rumours of cloud managed desktops is the next sort of WVD step, essentially. Can you tell us anything about that, or is it still all under sort of NDA?
Yeah, and I know that there was an article that came out about it, which is where I'm kind of referencing the concept of the managed desktop. I think it's a very cool idea. I'd love to see it happen. I don't know anything about it officially or unofficially other than what was in that article, but I know that's a great idea. I have no idea how that would work, because one of the things Microsoft traditionally has done is kept a very strong separation between the Azure side of the infrastructure and then managing people's environments and data. So I don't know how the two would possibly play together, but I think that's a great concept. And if they can find some way to pull it off where not only would we have WVD, but we've managed the Windows Autopilot delivery of the systems and the support of the systems, and I mean, that'd be very cool.
Definitely.
Now I have another question, Dean.
Sure.
When we talk a lot about WVD itself, and for example, we all have a kind of favorite feature of WVD. What is yours actually?
Ooh, nice one.
Oh, that's not fair.
You can only pick one.
I can only pick one. Okay, can I use one that's in preview?
Yeah,
of course.
If it's in public preview.
Okay. MSIX app attach.
Oh yes.
That's a game changer.
Yeah, I think that'll change pretty much everything, because right now the traditional VDI way of looking at imaging has been put my apps inside my image, and then we have these very monolithic thick images which are difficult to manage and update. So I think moving to a strategy of app attach means now I can have a very thin image that's only OS and patches, and then do everything else as a deployment pipeline, which is part of what Image Builder does, which is very cool. And then beyond that, it's deploy the applications on demand. So I don't even have to maintain them in the image. They can all be managed separately, so I don't have any interruption of service. I think that's a great strategy.
Yes,
Definitely.
indeed.
I mean, that goes back to, so the reason I remember when I first got into Windows Virtual Desktop, I was having a chat with Jim Moyle. And to me, the sort of light bulb moment in the head went off when he told me about the separation of everything, how that's just going to change everything, where you're separating your applications, your profiles, and your operating system. So you're basically building on that block system where you can just swap and change things out independently. So that was, back then, it was immensely powerful, and it's generally what we're seeing right now. And that's the reason why WVD has been so popular, right? And obviously it can plug into all the native Azure services. As Azure evolves, so does Windows Virtual Desktop. And we're continuing to see that. So it's very exciting.
I think there's still one thing left. So we removed the profiles, we removed the applications.
Yep.
The next step will be migrating sessions to another host. That would be perfect.
So there was it in the last Ignite? I think the last one that was online, Mark Rusinovich, who's of course the Azure CTO, did a thing in his data center talk looking at how to take your Azure infrastructure and how they're planning to map things to more like grid computing. So I'll pull some CPU from over here and some RAM from over there. Why not do the same thing with the session? If the VM no longer really matters, then I should be able to move my session from system to system.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had this thing in my head. And even when I was starting in IT 20 years ago, I've always sat there and thought, why do you actually need an operating system, right? All the problems that we have are due to the operating system, because everything has to interact with that operating system. If you can take away that, you solve a whole lot of problems. That's just my thoughts. That's the crazy thoughts that I've had over my 20 years in IT, but it would solve so many problems, right? If you could literally just totally separate everything so it doesn't have to talk centrally to the operating system, because that's where you get all the problems.
If you remember back in a short-lived product called Azure Remote App, what was that same kind of concept? Just sideload some applications somehow into the cloud and just present it to the user. No underlying OS needed.
Yeah,
You know?
if you look at any sort of large enterprise environment, the problems are normally .NET, Java, performance problems. This application version doesn't work with this application version because this has to talk to your operating system.
Yep.
Take all that away, and it will solve so many problems. But
We know Microsoft. Somebody at Microsoft was working on it or did some testing with it, right? We had him in the in one of the earlier podcasts. Was it Stefan? There was somebody who told us during one of the podcast episodes
okay,
that he did a little bit of proof of concept on migrating sessions to somebody to another host.
oh yeah, it was
Wow.
Stefan Georgiev. He was,
Okay.
I think, where he said he'd done some testing and he actually managed to get it working. That was
There was
host
one thing with-
migrations.
Yeah, there was one
Yeah.
thing with all the things in memory or something, but
Yeah, I remember.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Cool. Do we have any more questions for Dean?
Just a fun question left from my side.
oh no.
Because
we
when
go
I
again.
ask for, as you know, I always have my spare questions. No, I'm joking. No, we asked you about your favorite feature, Dean, and one of the favorite features Neil and I used to present was a security feature called screen capture protection, and we experienced while doing online sessions that it's really hard to present that feature during Teams live sessions.
So
what would be your tip to present it?
So I have actually a cute little story about that. So I was doing a session that I was actually trying to record some video talking about screen capture protection. When I implemented it, I set it up and added the keys and all of that, and then I hit record, and then I was talking and showing everything on screen, and then I looked at my recording, which of course was looking at just my background wallpaper because I couldn't capture the session. And there was an hour lost. But yeah, how do you implement the feature and then show that you implemented the feature? I haven't solved that one yet, but
Yeah, I did exactly the same thing, Dean. It took about 5 seconds for my brain to register. Why is this not working? I can't see it. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to see it, am I?
yeah, no, I was checking my camera settings and OBS, and I don't know, did I have my green screen overlaying it? I didn't know what was going on. So
I'm sure there's many people out there who've done exactly the same thing.
So if you want to showcase screen capture protection.
So apparently, I found this in a forum post. The early version, it showed, because you remember you saying how did they show the black screen during the screenshots before they released it? That was because in an early version they had the black screen instead of just showing a clear through. So if you find an early version of it, then maybe Windows Insider build or something, certain version will have it on.
Yeah, then the complete
just black
instead of black screen.
Correct.
Instead of just the borders. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. I think that's it for today, guys.
Yeah, can we just mention the VDI Like a Pro survey?
Of course.
I'm not sure how long is left. I think there's only a few days left. I can't remember the exact date, but if you haven't done already, please, if you can do, fill in the VDI Like a Pro survey. It's a very, very, very useful resource. I probably filled it in for the past 3-4 years. But it's basically asks you a set of questions about your environment and what you implement in the next 12 months. But it just gives you a really good snapshot of what the industry is like today and where we're heading. So please, I think it's Christian Brinkoff.
Christian Brinkoff.
My mind's gone blank. Anyway,
Oh wow, Mark Plettenberg from
Mark Plettenberg.
WVSI.
Yep.
And
Ruben.
the guy from Nutanix.
Ruben. Yeah.
Ruben's
Right.
private. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those
And
guys.
It will only take you like 10-15 minutes.
Yep.
And you will also get the results of the complete survey if you fill it in. So.
Yep. So make sure you go fill it in. We'll put the links into the YouTube video, and you can find the links on our WVD community newsletter as well.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Now, one last important question, Dean. How can people reach you when they want to get in touch with you somehow?
So probably the easiest way is drop a comment on one of my videos. I'm work my best to answer every question and comment that comes in, or they can direct message me on Twitter at msazureacademy.com. That's probably the other best way to reach me. And keep tuning into the Azure Academy and share everything with everyone because it's all free.
Cool.
Will do. And I just want to say on behalf of everyone in the community, thanks so much for all that you do. I think for past 2.5 years, I mean, I know you say 6 hours, but I bet it's at least 10 hours a week that you put into doing it right, answering all the questions, replying to everything, posting stuff. So thanks so much for doing that. I know you enjoy it and a lot of people have benefited from it. So
thank you. My pleasure. And thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks for coming on. Right, guys. Well, we're going to end it there. So actually, is this your first podcast between you guys got your MVPs?
No.
Okay.
Is it the first one of 2021? We did. The last time was with Travis.
Okay.
And with Simon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I won't say congratulations again then.
You could, but it's not necessary.
Well, I'll say it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll end the recording now.